Hello and welcome to Rathods IAS Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see very important articles that appeared in our today's newspaper. So let's get started with our discussion. First, I'll let you know important topics of the day. And later on, we are going to see each and every topic from prelims and as well as mains point of view. And at last, I'll be giving you prelims practice questions also so that you can understand how questions can be asked. Okay, let us see the topics of the day. The first one is Houthi attacks on shipping drive, Brent crude past $100. So this article is talking about Houthis attack. In our yesterday's class itself, we discussed about Bubble Mandap in one editorial. So again, there is one article which says that Houthis attacked ships of Saudi Arabia. Because of that, now Brent crude, that is nothing but crude oil price, increased. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under international relations. And next topic is global waterways should be safe and impeded, says our External Affairs Minister Jaishankar. So here this article is talking about global waterways, and those global waterways should be safe. And recently this 21st East Asian Summit is going on. In that summit, our External Affairs Minister said this statement. So here you have to know about that East Asian Summit. And next topic is building resilience to protect elderly from climate stressors. You know, climate change is happening. Because of that climate change, lots of weather events that we are experiencing. Because of that extreme weather events, obviously who will be more vulnerable? Children and as well as elderly people. Here this article is talking about especially elderly people. They are facing lots of challenges because of climate change. And here you have to see what are the challenges and you have to see what is the way forward, what exactly that report is saying about. And next topic is warning signals for India from NATO's Ankara summit. Recently, NATO summit happened in Ankara. Ankara is place located in Turkey. And actually here you have to see what are the outcomes of that summit and what are the outcomes which is going to affect India's interest. So this topic is very important, and on this NATO, UPSC can ask you a prelims based question. And next topic is the right to protest and the limits of police power. As you all know that students are protesting. In yesterday's class, we discussed about Chalo Sansad, right? This article is related to that. And here you have to know about the fundamental right, that is article 19(1) subclass B. And you have to see about the reasonable restrictions on this fundamental right. Okay. And next topic is how should cities reclaim footpaths? Recently, Supreme Court gave a landmark judgment related to this. Walking on footpath is a fundamental right. It comes under article 19(1) subclass D and as well as article 21. This article is talking about one important problem related to that judgment now. And this topic is important from your polity. So all these are the very important topics that we are going to see in this class. Okay, now read the title is Houthi attacks on shipping drive. On shipping drive, Brent crude past $100. So actually this article is talking about Houthis. Who are these Houthis? Where from which country they are from? Houthis are from Yemen. You have to remember this. Houthis are from Yemen and they are militant group. And they are backed by which country? Iran. How Iran is supporting these people? Iran is providing training for this militant group. Iran is supplying arms, and even Iran is sharing information with this Houthis. Because of this militant group from Yemen is called as Iran-backed Houthis. Okay. In yesterday's class, we saw clearly about this Bubble Mandap Strait. Where is Bubble Mandap Strait located? Here we have Strait of Hormuz. And here we have Yemen here. This is Saudi Arabia. Here we have Red Sea. Here which continent we have? Africa. Okay. Here we have Eritrea, here we have Djibouti, here we have Somalia, and this strait is Bab el Mandab. This is Bab el Mandab. Okay, this Bab el Mandab is connecting this Red Sea, and here we have Gulf of Aden, and here this part is Arabian Sea, and here somewhere we have India, right? So actually Bab el Mandab Strait, why it is important? Because of closure of the Strait of Hormuz, we are using this Bab el Mandab Strait, and we are getting this oil from Saudi Arabia to India. Now what Iran is doing is, Iran is using this Houthis who are from Yemen, and they gave some warning like, we are going to attack the ships if they are moving in this Bab el Mandab Strait. And yesterday what they did, they attacked 2 ships of Saudi Arabia. Because of this attack of this Houthis on this Saudi Arabia ship, now what happened? There is increased cost of crude oil. Before this attack, the cost of this crude oil was $94 per a barrel. After this attack, it jumped to 100. Okay, now you have to think about what will be the impact on India. What will be the impact of this kind of attacks? First one is, there is increased crude oil price. Obviously, what happens? In India also, there will be increased petrol and diesel price. That is the first impact. And next one here is, whenever the ships are moving, obviously the ships has to pay insurance. Do you know this? Even we'll have our life insurance, term insurance. Even if you're running any business, we will be having insurance for that business, right? In the same way, for this big cargo ships or cruise ships which are moving in this water, they also have to pay insurance. Even for our 2-wheeler or 4-wheeler, we'll pay this insurance, right? Yes, if there is any accident, we'll claim under that insurance. Now what happens? Because of this increased threats in this waters, obviously now insurance companies will ask to pay more amount of money for this cargo ships. Then what happened? Insurance charges will be raised for this people who are running the ships. That is the second one. Okay, next one here is, if there is any attack, obviously there will be a loss of life and as well as loss of property will happen. And even if there is any blast on this tanker, if it is carrying the oil, what happen? Oil spill can happen. That will lead to environmental emergency. So these are the major impacts of this attacks of Houthis on these ships. Clear? So these all are the points that you have to remember. Already we discussed about this topic in our yesterday's class. It is not at all a new, but here you have to see about only this thing. Houthis attacked Saudi Arabia based oil tankers, and the names were Encelia and Laila. Please make a note. Layla and Encelia are the names of Saudi Arabian tankers. If in case if UPSC ask a question about this, yes, you have to know about it. Just for your knowledge, I am making you to write this. Okay, that's it guys, nothing more than that. And you can see the map here. So here we have Red Sea, here we have Gulf of Aden, and this strait is Bab el Mandab. And see the countries which are sharing boundary. Here we have Yemen, here we have Eritrea, and we have Djibouti. This last part is Somalia. It is not sharing boundary. Only 3 countries, Eritrea, Yemen and Djibouti, are sharing boundary. It is connecting Red Sea with Gulf of Aden. Here we have Arabian Sea. Clear? You have to know that. And here we have what? Strait of Hormuz. And next one here is, above this Red Sea, can you see here we have Mediterranean Sea. Okay, through this strait only, whatever exports we are doing to these European countries, here we have Europe, and through this route only, whatever the exports we are doing from India to Europe will go. Our trade between India and Europe can be stalled. That is also one problem. if this is closed and here Strait of Hormuz is closed, if we want to get oil from Saudi Arabia, which route we have to go? From here, oil tankers will be filling with oil here and they'll enter into this Red Sea. I'll change the color of pen. Okay, here oil tankers will be filling and there it will enter into Red Sea, and here we have which canal? Suez Canal. Through this it will enter into this Mediterranean Sea, and this part is what? Africa. So it has to come all the round around this Africa, and it has to enter into Arabian Sea, and it has to enter to India. So this is the alternate route if this Bab-el Mandab Strait is closed to get oil for India. Then what happened? Obviously the route is very lengthy, right? And the time taken for the transportation will be increased and even cost will be increased. Already the crude oil cost had been increased. If you are adding extra transportation charges, means what happened? Furthermore, increased oil price can happen in our country. That will be the major problem now for our country because of this Houthis attack in Yemen. Clear? So all these are the things that you have to remember. Okay, now see this article, guys. Read out the title. Global waterways. Global waterways should be safe, unimpeded, says Jaishankar. This article is talking about our External Affairs Minister. He made a statement related to global waterways. Why our External Affairs Minister made this statement? Because of this Houthis attack, because of the Strait of Hormuz, because of issue between US and Iran and West Asian crisis. All those things were taken into consideration and our External Affairs Minister made the statement. Yes, we need to have our waterways which should be safe. And where did he make that statement? In East Asia Summit. Write down. Write down 21st East Asia Summit. 21st East Asia Summit. Okay, do you know the directions? East, west, north, south, northeast, southwest, northwest, southwest. Clear about directions? And even in your CSAT also you have one topic called as directions. Every year at least one question. Even 2026 also they gave question on directions. You need to know the directions topic clearly. North, south, east, west. In between we have northeast, northwest, southwest and southeast. Okay, here it is talking about east. Okay, how many continents do we have? 7 continents. Which is the largest continent? Asia. So here we have Europe and Asia together, right? Okay, Asia and Europe is divided by one mountain range. Can you tell me what is that mountain range? Ural Mountains. Ural Mountains are there. These mountains will be dividing Europe and Asia. And Europe and Asia is the largest plate where Europe and Asia will be present together. So here this part is Central Asia, this part is West Asia, North Asia, South Asia, this part is Southeast Asia, and here we have East Asia. So East Asia Summit is nothing but it is between the countries which are part of East of Asia. That is the meaning of this East Asia. And these countries, they will meet at one place and they will talk about the common issues. That kind of meetings are called as summits. And recently 21st East Asian Summit had been held. In that what happened from India? Our External Affairs Minister, he attended the meeting and he made this statement. That is the meaning of this title. Clear? How UPSC can give you a question? Consider the following statements regarding 21st East Asia Summit. Is that a possible question? Yes. And next type of question is consider the following countries. Under that, it can ask you which of the above countries participated in 21st East Asia Summit. So you have to know about the countries which are part of East Asia also. Okay, now let us see this article clearly. What is this East Asia Summit? East Asia Summit, it is a key leaders-led strategic forum. And there are 18 countries participated as part of this East Asian Summit. In that 18, we have 10 Asian countries. Apart from these 10 Asian countries, we have China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, US and Russia and India. They participated in this summit. And this East Asia summit will be focusing on some key areas. First one is maritime security. Next one is blue economy. Next one is regional stability. Blue economy is nothing but whatever the money that we can derive from this water. That is called as blue economy. And as you all know that the Southeast Asian countries are sharing boundary with Indo-Pacific region. For sure, they have to focus on what? Maritime security. Okay. And next one is there is some criteria to be met by a country to become the part of East Asian Summit. So what is that criteria? The first one is they have to either sign ASEAN Treaty or they have to have the good relations with ASEAN. India is not part of ASEAN, but India is having very good relations with these ASEAN countries. So because of this, India became the part of East Asian Summit. And next, always this East Asian Summit will focus on 6 areas. First one is maritime and energy, environmental energy. Next one is they'll focus on education, finance, global health issues and pandemic diseases. And they'll focus on natural disaster management and how we have to maintain connectivity with the countries. So all these are the 6 areas they will focus. And whenever we are having this kind of meets, obviously there will be outcomes from these 6 areas. Once this meet is done, we'll get the final outcomes of this East Asian Summit in tomorrow or day after tomorrow's class. Then we'll discuss about what are the highlights of this meet. Until then, just remember that we have one summit called as East Asian Summit. In that 18 countries are part of it. In that 18 countries, 10 countries are Asian and we have other nearby countries part of this and they'll focus on 6 areas. Okay. What are the 6 areas? Environment, energy, education, finance, stability, health, disasters and connectivity. Clear? So you have to remember this. And after once we'll get details of outcome of the summit, then again we'll get lots of editorials related to that because our External Affairs Minister directly participated in that summit. Okay, see this next article guys, building resilience to protect elderly from climate stressors. You know, climate change is happening at a very fast rate. Why there is climate change? Because of global warming, because of increased vehicular pollution, vehicular emission increase, carbon dioxide emissions are increased, melting of glaciers are happening, increased sea level rise. So all these are the things that we can see. Even wildfires or forest fires are happening. Yes, heat waves are happening in some regions, droughts are happening in some regions, and now in Assam, this time we had super El Nino. But 22 states had been given under red alert by IMD. And in Assam, there are heavy floods. Heavy floods. It is for the first time in last 60 years. And in today's paper entirely, there are many articles related to this Assam floods. That kind of events, if they happen, obviously who will be get more vulnerable or more impacted? Elderly people and as well as children. If you keep children aside, so elderly people will face lots of problems. So here this article is saying that there is increased weather events. What are the increased weather events? Rising of temperature, erratic rainfall. Erratic rainfall is nothing but untimely rainfall, unexpected rainfall. Okay, and next one is droughts are happening in some areas. In some areas, floods are happening. Coastal erosion is happening because of increased sea level. Water scarcity in some areas, especially in these urban areas, we have this problem of water scarcity. And there is poor ventilation, indoor heat stress, and even environmental degradation. Because of all these things, what is happening? There is increased chronic illness. Chronic means long term. Especially in this old age people, they will be having this diabetes since 20 years or hypertension since 30 years, liver damage since 10 years. Those are called as chronic illness. And this one is, because of this, there is rise of mortality. And even what happened? Now there is increased care needs for the senior citizens. So these are the things which mainly said in this article. And next one here is, because of this kind of challenges, they are facing the problem related to respiratory problems. If there is increased air pollution, can they breathe properly? especially in this Diwali time. On the night of this Diwali, we'll burn lots of crackers, especially in Hyderabad. If you come outside after 9:30 p.m., you can't see anything, only white smoke will be appearing. If that kind of situation is increasing, obviously they'll get this kind of respiratory distress. They cannot have the proper breath. And next one here is mental distress can happen. It will be affecting their mental health also. Sleep disruption can happen. And next one here is they will not have even sometimes proper access to the medical care. Because of this, what happened? Furthermore, increased vulnerability of these elderly people to this environment or to this climate change. And next one here is other reasons which are also given in this article here is mostly our old people will become isolated. Because normally nowadays what we are doing, we are joining this elderly people in old age homes. Earlier, if you go to 2 to 3 generations back, we used to take care of our elderly in our home itself. But nowadays what is happening, both wife and husband, they are going to their works. No one will be there in the home. At that time what they'll do? They will try to keep that elderly parents in this old age homes. Whenever we are joining that older people in this old age homes, obviously they will feel isolated. No one will be taking care, and even sometimes they feel very lonely, and no one will be talking properly, and no one will be asking about their wellness, everything. Okay, nowadays what is happening? They are feeling much more isolated. Because of this isolation, there will be more impact on their mental health. And next one here is obviously they will be affecting health of that old people, dignity. It will be affecting their mobility, even income, housing, social support structures, all will be getting affected. Okay, so that is the thing which mainly said here. Because of climate change, there are multiple impacts on this elderly people. And even this article is giving one data, please make a note. Older population in India is to rise about, older population in India is to rise about 347 million, 347 million, 347 million by 2050, by 2050, by 2050, from 149 million in 2022, from 149 million in 2022, from 149 million in 2022. That means when we are comparing with 2022 data, by 2050, there will be doubling of the population of elderly in our country. Then what happened? Obviously, they will be having huge impacts. So that is about this article, guys. They are giving the data. Because of this, now government has to take some steps to increase care for these people. Okay, now this article is saying that we have to go with One Health approach. We have to ensure better data usage, and even we need to have stronger institutional coordination, and we have to design the services especially designed for this older people. Then only we can address this challenges faced by this elderly people because of climate change. That is the thing which mainly said in this article. Why you have to read this article related to elderly? In your society and social justice, you have this topic of children, women, elderly. If there is any question related to that, obviously you have to include this data, and you have to interlink with climate change and its impact on elderly, and what kind of measures we have to take. Okay, now let us see the next article. Look at this title. Interesting article of the day. Title says warning signals for India from NATO's Ankara summit. Please make a note. NATO's Ankara summit, and keep star mark. In 2025, UPSC gave a question in prelims related to NATO. In 2026, there is no question. And now, because of this NATO summit in 2026, it is going to impact India for sure. Because of this, in 2027 prelims, again, there may be a question on NATO. Okay. Do you know about NATO? What is the full form of NATO? Anyone? Okay, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. What is North Atlantic Treaty Organization? What is North Atlantic Treaty Organization? Any idea? Huh? Okay, actually it is military organization. It is military organization formed after this World War II. Can anyone tell me the timeline of World War II? When it started and when it was ended? 1930? 8 or 9? 39 to 40? 40? 6. Very good. 45. 1939 to 1945 was a period of World War II. What happened in this World War II? World War ended by? World War ended with what? Atomic bombs, not nuclear, atomic bombs. Who throwed bombs? America throwed on? Japan. What is that place? You know this, no? Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In that two places, US dropped bomb, atomic bomb, not nuclear bomb, it is atomic bomb. Okay. So what happened after this end of World War? At that time, world entered into a phase called as Cold War. They are not fighting by using arms or weapons, but because of small issues between the countries, they entered into a phase of Cold War. And as soon as this World War II ended, so now US wants to come up with a military organization with a group of countries, and it formed this NATO. NATO's full form is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Okay. And do you know why the war which is going on between Russia and Ukraine? You know about Russia-Ukraine war is going on. Why? What is the reason? Why there is a war between this Ukraine and Russia? Ukraine wants to join this NATO. Ukraine said that it wants to join NATO and it came up with a proposal with NATO to join this. So what happened here is, this is Russia, big country, and Ukraine is sharing boundary with this Russia. If Ukraine joins NATO, NATO is led by USA. USA and Russia are enemy countries, not friend countries. So now if Ukraine joins this NATO forces will come and they will border this Russia-Ukraine border. Will Russia accept this if US forces comes and if they're guarding the border of Ukraine? For sure not. So because of that reason, Russia started attacking this Ukraine not to join this NATO. That is the main reason why this Russia-Ukraine war started. Okay, and why Russia is having fear of NATO? Why Russia don't want this Ukraine to join this NATO? Because of one article. So in this NATO, there is one provision under Article 5 of this NATO which says about collective responsibility. I think you might have studied about this collective responsibility in Parliament chapter. Individual responsibility, collective responsibility, swim and sing together. Which article talks about it? Ma'am, you are telling I hear, but you are asking question polity. How can we answer? 75 clause 3 talks about collective responsibility. Very good. Okay, what is that collective responsibility is about? If no confidence motion is passed, everything should be dissolved. That is a collective responsibility. So here in NATO, what is the meaning of this collective responsibility is, if any country attacks any country which is a member of NATO, that means it is not attacking single country, it is attacking entire NATO. All this country will retaliate on that country. That is the provision of NATO under Article 5, which is nothing but collective responsibility. Are you understanding? So because of that provision, if Russia attacks Ukraine after becoming the member of NATO, what happened? All these NATO countries will in return attack this Russia. Is that good for Russia? That is the reason why Russia don't want this Ukraine to join this NATO. That is a major reason. Okay, now let us see some facts regarding this NATO first, and later on we are going to see what are the outcomes of this Ankara summit, and now we are going to shift to that outcomes, how it will be impacting India, what India has to do. Let us do step by step, then only you can understand. First, what is a NATO? NATO is nothing but North Atlantic Treaty Organization. When it was formed after World War II. At that time, whenever this NATO was formed, there were just 12 countries. But now the membership had been expanded. Okay, next one is headquarters located in Belgium. Remember this? Headquarters located in Brussels, Belgium. And next one is this NATO was formed by signing Washington Treaty. Please make a note. By signing this Washington Treaty, they came up with this NATO. And next one is there is one principle of collective defense or collective responsibility of the countries under Article 5 of NATO. What is collective defense or collective responsibility here? An attack against one ally is an attack against all. So that all countries has to retaliate on the country which attacked the member of NATO. That is about Article 5 of NATO. So these are the some basic things that you have to remember. And now let us see the context. What is happening now? So here 32 member countries of NATO. Earlier whenever it formed, it was just 12 member country. But now it is 32 member country. 32 member countries organization. Recently they met in Turkey, in Ankara. So this name of the summit is Ankara Summit. In your environment, in your IR, you will come across this lots of summits. The names of the summits will be given on place where it is held. Okay, just place name, they will give that name of that summit. This is called as Ankara Summit. If I say Ankara Summit, it is related to what? NATO recent summit. Like that you have to remember and recall the things. Okay. Now, these 32 members, they sat in Turkey and they talked. And they came up with 4 outcomes. See properly, the first one is they should commit to collective defense at any cost. Article 5, whatever the thing which I said about Article 5, they have to implement 100%. That is the first thing they said. And next one here is, members of this NATO, they have to spend at least 5% of their country's GDP on defense by 2035. Earlier, they said only 2% of GDP they have to spend on defense. But now it increased to 5% on their defense. That means they have to have good army, good equipments, okay, good advanced technology, everything they have to spend 5% of GDP. That is the second point. And third one here is they have to provide 100% support for Ukraine's freedom, sovereignty and territorial integrity. Why? Because this war started because of that only. No, Ukraine wants to join this NATO. That is a starting point or trigger point for this Russia-Ukraine crisis. So because of this, now these NATO countries has to support this Ukraine. That is the third point they said. And next one is they have to build high technology, high capacity and Europe-wide defense industrial base, because most of these countries of this NATO are European countries and Europe should become defense industrial base. So these are the 4 important points. So how they can make this industrial base in Europe? They have to have the network of firms, factories, laboratories, skilled workers and military power. All this will make this Europe as a defense industrial base. So these are the 4 commitments of this Ankara summit of NATO. And now why it will impact India? Why it will be a warning signal? So one point you have to see is, now these countries will spend 5% on their defense. That means they have to purchase more and more equipments. Yes. Okay, take India as an example. Do India has high-end technology? From where we are getting this technology? From European countries, US, from which we are getting our technology. From France we are getting, from US we are getting, from Germany we are getting, like that from advanced developed European countries we are getting this equipment. Now this commitment said that they have to spend 5% on their country only. That means instead of selling, what they'll do, they'll try to keep with their countries the equipments, or else they'll try to sell to this NATO members. They'll give priority for this NATO members first. Is India part of NATO? India is not part of NATO. If India wants to buy this advanced equipments, will India get a choice to buy from these European countries? No. But we have two enemies on our borders, Pakistan and China. We don't know when they'll attack. If you're not modernizing our equipments, then what happened? India will have a security threat. Because of this, it is a warning signal for India. Are you understanding? Clear or not? So if you understand what is NATO, what is its 4 commitments, then only you can understand what will be impact or why it is a warning signal for India. That is the meaning of this title. Clear? The first one is there is sharp rise in European defense spending. So now what happened? Because instead of selling market, that European market will become a buying market. Because mandatory they have to spend 5%. Yes, that is the first one. And it is a bad news for large arm importers like India. Because European countries are major suppliers of our defense equipments. And next one here is already there is one early evidence like US is not sending F-404 fighter jet engines because they are developing their own defense system more. Because of this, our Indian Air Force Tejas Light Air Combat Program had been delayed. If you want to fly any aeroplane or fighter jet or any aircraft, we need engines. These engines are getting from US. But now US is a leader of NATO. It is not sending these engines to India. Then what happened? How can we develop this Tejas? Right. So whatever the technology we are developing in India is not completely 100% Indian made. We will get some parts from other countries. Especially we'll get engines from other countries. If they're stopping these engines, can we make this complete instrument in our country? For sure, no. Okay, that is the thing, guys. Nothing more than that. So here this article is saying that rather than depending on other countries, we have to focus on self-reliance. If you are not developing in our country, then what happen? There will be a delays and there will be high cost of equipment, and sometimes there is reduced availability of advanced equipments for India. That will make India more vulnerable in a battleground between India and China, India and Pakistan war. Clear? So that is this article, guys. Is that clear? And now let us see next article. See this title, guys. How should cities reclaim footpaths? To understand this, what is the recent Supreme Court judgment? Right to walk on demarcated footpaths is a fundamental right under Article 21 of Indian Constitution. You know this. And many a times we discuss this. Why we need footpaths. Construction of footpaths is easy compared to that of roads. We can reduce environmental pollution. We can reduce carbon dioxide emissions. We can enhance the safety of pedestrians. It will gives physical exercise for the people. People can walk. People can decrease their NCDs, non-communicable diseases. Most in urban areas, the trips will be less than 3 kilometers that can be easily walk on foot. Yes, all these things we discussed. Can you recall all these articles? Around 3 to 4 times we discussed this topic in our current affairs class. But now there is one new dimension. Okay, to understand this, you know now about why Supreme Court gave this judgment and what is the positive impacts of this judgment. Everything you know. Now what happened is, after one Supreme Court gave this judgment of right to walk on demarcated footpaths is part of fundamental right under Article 21, Bangalore Development Minister directed 5 city corporations under Greater Bangalore Authority to launch 10-day safe footpath drive. Remember this, Bangalore launched this 10 days of safe footpath drive. In that drive, what they did, what is the major problem on these footpaths? We can see debris. Yes, we can see dumping of the waste on footpaths. We can see mostly the vendors. Topud bandi, you know this, right? They will sell vegetables or foods on this footpaths. So what they did is, can you see the image? Whatever, especially we will see Pani Puri bandi, Pani Puri on this footpaths. Especially girls know that if we go on a walk, we will stay there for at least 15 minutes to have pani puri. I am also from in that category only. I am not exception here. So what happened was, um, in under this drive, they removed thousands of street vendors from that pavements, and even whatever the encroachments are there, they cleared these encroachments. In this 10 days of drive, they remove thousands of these vendors. So if you are removing them, is that affecting their right to life and personal liberty? Right to live with dignity is also the part of Article 21. So now the questions are raising here. Related to the street vendors, we have one act and you have to write this. Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood and Regulation of Street Vending Act of 2014. To protect the street vendors, in our country there is one act. That is Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood and Regulation of Street Vending Act of 2014. So here under this drive, here Bangalore Development Authority removed thousands of street vendors. Whenever they are removing that people from that place, whether they followed the provisions of this act or not, it is a big question. Okay, now how question can be given in your UPSC? Recently, Supreme Court said right to walk on demarcated footpath is a fundamental right. In the light of this judgment, what are the provision of Street Vendor Livelihood Act of 2014? How it will be affected? In that way, they can link that judgment with this act. Because of that judgment, now the street vendors are getting affected. Are you understanding? So now let us see what is this act is about. If you want, you can make the statements. Okay. Try to note down this, guys. So actually under this act, if we want to remove any street vendors, we have to follow the process. The first process is we have to constitute town vending committee. Town vending committee. Write down in a flowchart manner. It will be easy. First one is town vending committee to be established. In this committee, who will be members? Write down under this. We have officials. We have police. We have planning authorities. We have resident representatives and street vendors. So by all these members, first we have to make a committee. And now this committee has to make decisions. Now this committee has to make the decisions related to the vendors who will be getting affected. And once the committee is constituted, it has to do the survey. First one is committee, next one is decisions, next one is they have to conduct survey. Okay, and after doing the survey, they will identify. Survey means nothing but they'll go to each and every vendor and they'll take the details of them and some documents. Okay, and whoever the eligible vendors are there, they will now get certificates. Certificates are nothing but eligible vendor, where they are vending their products and which products they are vending, like vegetables or fruits or whatever it may be. So they will give the certificates, and the certificate is not like, and you have to remember one, the certificate will just recognize the right to vend, but it will not provide any vendorship, vendor ownership of that place, because normally the street vendors will sell the products by keeping their instrument in a public land. Yes, we have market committees. Do you know these market committees? Where we have to pay some rent and we have to keep our items or articles, and they will try to sell in that place. So here they will get certificates, and these certificates will give right to vend. It will not recognize any ownership of this public land. And next one is this act is prohibiting the removal of street vendors without any, if this process is not done. It is not the right of the government authorities to remove their vending places. They should not vacate these places. And now question is, they did drive and they removed thousands of street vendors there. Whether they followed this act or not, it is a question now. Okay, clear? Next, see this article, guys. Right to protest and limits of the police power. fundamental rights is going on in your class. Yes, this article is related to that fundamental right itself. Now you know about this Cockroach Janata Party, you know about this NEET paper leak, you know about this Sonam Wangchuk, who is a climate activist. And recently, our opposition party raised the questions in the parliament, but our ruling party denied to answer. Because of this, they started this movement called as Chalo Sansad. Okay, to maintain law and order, police people, they started attacking the students by using pellet guns. We discussed about pellet guns in yesterday's class. They used tear gas, is everything. Okay, now related to that incident, even Delhi High Court asked explanation from Delhi police and as well as central government. In our yesterday's class, we discussed that. So now this article is saying about Article 19(1) subclass B. I think you might have studied about this Article 19, which talks about right to freedom. Under that we have again 19(1)A, 19(1)B, C, D, E, G. So you have to remember that. So here Article 19(1) subclass B talks about right to assemble peacefully. We can assemble, we can do protest in a peaceful manner without any gun, without any arms. Okay, peacefully we can do the protest. So Constitution itself guarantees the citizens right to assemble peacefully under Article 19(1)B. But are these fundamental rights absolute? There are some reasonable restrictions can be imposed. So here related to this Article 19(1) subclass B, Article 19 subclass B talks about restrictions. What are those restrictions? In the interest of public order, sovereignty, integrity of India, this article can be curtailed. That is called as reasonable restrictions. So here this article is talking about what is the police power, when police action can be done. So whenever peaceful protests are happening, when police can do some action, which laws are governing this action, you need to know that. So if you're talking about when can police use the force, we have Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, BNS, right? So under this BNSS, an executive magistrate or an authorized police officer may order an unlawful assembly or an assembly likely to disturb public peace to disperse. If assembly does not comply, the law permits them to disperse by force. Even in our BNSS itself, it says that if any protest which is happening peacefully, if it is causing any law and order problem, for example, if the people are doing protest on the road, what happens? It will create traffic jam. No, it will become a law and order problem. At that time, police can ask them to disperse. If they are not compiling with the orders of police, then what they can do? They can disperse by using force. That is the first thing which is said in our BNSS. And next one here is we have Code of Conduct for Police in Indian states. Okay, what kind of methods they can use? They can use persuasion. Persuasion means nothing but changing the mindset of people. Next one is by advice and warning, they can disperse them. If they are not changing their attitude, then what happens? Application of force become inevitable in some circumstances. Okay, that is there in the Code of Conduct of Police also they said, yes, they can use force. And next you have to see about one more thing about the Supreme Court judgment. What Supreme Court said in different judgments related to the power of police or police force. The first one here is Anita Thakur versus State of Jammu and Kashmir. In this case of 2016, Supreme Court said that use of excessive force violates fundamental right. If people's fundamental right is affected or if people got affected or injured more, they will get compensation. And Supreme Court said that police action must remain reasonable and accountable only in the reasonable conditions, and whatever the action they did, they have to be accountable. So this is a judgment of Supreme Court. Okay. So if it is affecting fundamental rights, if it is affecting the bodily integrity of the people, they have to pay compensation. and police action should be reasonable and accountable. That is a one Supreme Court judgment. And next one is in Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan versus Union of India case of 2018. Here court said that police has to maintain public order, and next one is they cannot extinguish the right to protest alone on altogether. That means whenever the people are doing peaceful protest, actually in that case Kisan means nothing but the farmers are doing protest in Punjab against MSP, like that some issues were there in 2018. So farmers are doing protest. So at that time Supreme Court said that yes, it is a responsibility of police to maintain law and order, but we should not tell these people to do protest only. We should not remove this right to protest of the people. People can do protest, but it is the responsibility of police to control that. That is the thing which mainly said. And next one is we have Amit Shani versus Commissioner of Police in 2020 case. Supreme Court said that right to dissent is a constitutional right, but cannot be result in indefinite occupation of public spaces. Is right to dissent you can do. You can do the protest peacefully, but you should not occupy public places at indefinite time. For 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, like that you can occupy, but years together you cannot occupy these public places. So these are the three important Supreme Court judgments. In all these Supreme Court judgments, it said that right to dissent and right to protest is a fundamental right under our constitution itself. It is a responsibility of our police. Whenever police they are using force, they had to use police force reasonably and they should be accountable. If not, they have to pay compensation. So these are the Supreme Court judgments that you have to remember, guys. So these judgments will help you while writing your mains answers. And this time in 2026 and 2027, you'll get a question on right to assemble, Article 19 for sure in your mains. Okay, now let us see the question. See this. With reference to right to assemble under Constitution, consider the following statements. There are 4 statements, read it out. First one is the right to assemble peacefully and without arms is guaranteed under Article 9(1)(b) of Constitution. Second one, this right can be exercised only by Indian citizens. Next one, the state may impose reasonable restrictions on this right in the interest of sovereignty and integrity of India and public order. Every assembly held in a public place requires prior permission under Constitution. For sure, one will be there in your answer. Sorry. What about second statement? There are some fundamental rights which will be given only for Indians. Which are those? 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. These 5. 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. It is 19. That means, yes, it should be also there. Second one. Okay. 2 gone. And which statement you have to see? Fourth one. Because in your options 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 is there. Read out the fourth one. Every assembly held in a public place requires prior permission. Do we need to take permission from the Constitution for every? No, it is not. Answer is 1, 2 and 3. And say this next question. With reference to NATO, consider the following statements. First one is it was established in 1949. Article 5 of NATO Treaty provides collective defense. India is a member of NATO. NATO headquarters is located in Brussels, Belgium. Brussels, Belgium is there for sure. Okay, next about India. Is India member? For sure, no. Eliminate this third one. And say this first one. Yes, 1, 2 and 4. Okay, in that way, try to solve your questions. Use some basic common sense and logic. That's all, guys. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to join anthropology batch here, we are going to start a new batch for anthropology from August 3rd onwards, guys. And we are also trying to provide a demo class on Thursday. Okay, I'll announce you the date and I'll make you a detailed shot on that demo class, when and how to join the class on both online and offline, and what will be the timings. Everything I'll update you in a short case. But we are going to launch anthropology batch from August 3rd onwards, and we are providing on both online and offline case. And the timings will be normally the evening timings. It will be from 5 to 7 or 4:30 to 6:30. And the course duration will be like 3.5 to 4 months. and every day there will be answer writing practice, and weekends we'll be having tests, and I'll be providing you the notes clearly for paper 1 and paper 2 along with PYQs and blueprint. And one more thing here is, if you're from non-science background also, don't get afraid of this anthropology. I'll be teaching from the basic onwards, and I'll be showing you a lot of videos, images, and we'll discuss lots of case studies, examples, and lots of movie names so that you can understand the concepts clearly in our class case. Okay, if you want to join this course and if you want to know more details of this course, please do contact us on this number 8074765513. And even the new batch for GS Prelims Cum Mains Foundation course is also going to be started from this Monday, guys. And if you want to join that also, you can contact us on the same number, or else you can text me on WhatsApp also, guys. That's all. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, guys.